All right, well, here's the long-awaited presentation of the Schroeder family, which has a very, very long history. And I believe it's something that we're all going to enjoy. So without further ado, I'm going to just turn it over to our presenter, Bill Schroeder.
Thank you, Lauren. And thank you, everybody, for coming. And I see you've got a few family members here, so thank you also for showing up. Okay, I'm going to start out by telling you that I'm not the first one to present the Schroeder family. My father did it at the house out in the country in September of 1988. That was the first one, and he did it on the porch out at the house, and you'll see the porch in some of the pictures I have here with my great-grandparents in front of them. So I'm going to start out by telling you that the presentation is going to be mainly, I'll start out with the Schroeders, and then the Tims enter into that, because we're half Tims. My great-great-grandmother was a Tim, half Tim, or she married a Tim and then he died and she married a Schroeder, but that comes later. But anyway, then I'll go to the Royers after that. So I'll start out with the Schroeders first and then the Tims. So go ahead. Okay, this is Anna Paul Tim Schroeder, and this is her husband, Johann Christian Schroeder. They were married in February 1841 in Germany. And this is after her husband, his name was Peter Tim. He passed away in 37, and then she married Johann in 41. So that's how the Tims and the Schroeders related over there in Germany. And they're also from the Schleswig-Holstein area. Well, if any of you know that Denmark is one of the Scandinavian countries, you got Sweden, Norway, Finland, and then Denmark down at the bottom. And there's a province, or what do you call it? Yeah, provinces of Schleswig-Holstein, Schleswig being on the Danish border and Holstein right below that. And the Germans got tired of fighting over who had the property, so a lot of them migrated to America. Hence, Tim was the first one, and then other brothers and sister followed thereafter. And then in 65, Joachim came, Joachim came in 65, but I'll go over that in the next slide. This is Anna Paul Tim Schroeder, and when she was living in the United States, she came in the late 70s or early 80s and died in 97. She was 93 years old. Actually, I don't know exactly her birth dates. I have it sometimes as 1809, and then other times I've seen it at 1804, but I believe it's 1809 because of the marriage certificate that they got. I penciled it out, and she was born in 1809, so she lived a good full life at 93 years old. Okay, on this is the passage. Now, I did a lot of research, and it's hard to do because if you don't have the name spelled right, you have difficulty in finding your person you're looking for. This has got Joachim, it's J-O-A-C-H, it's better with them off, J-O-A-C-H-E-M, and this has the umlauts. Umlauts are the two dots over the O, and they dropped that when they came to America, and you add an E after it. So some names that have an A in it, or an O, or a U, they drop the umlaut over those letters, and then they put an E after it. So you drop the umlaut, you add an E right after it, so that's why you see these name changes. And he came to the United States. No, he departed from Hamburg, Germany in 1865, November 3rd, 1865, at the age of 20. And he was classified as a landman, Landmann, and that means farmer or rural man. And the ship he was on was the Eugenie, and the captain was Ross, and I can go in more details, but I don't need to. And this Dampf Schiff, S-C-H-I-F-F, Damp means steam, and Schiff means boat, so it's steamboat is what he came over in. But that was going from, this had to be coming from Hamburg to Hull. Hull is on the eastern side of England. So what they did, they went from Hamburg to Hull on the eastern side of England, and then by coach or by stage, they went over to Liverpool. And that's where they departed from, was Liverpool, going to New York. So he ended up in New York, and I don't know how long he stayed there. I don't think it was that long, because in '66 he was down in New Orleans, so he had to go around Florida, and then in New Orleans he stayed there for 1 year, I believe, to earn money so he could travel the rest of the route, because I'm sure he didn't have much money with him when he came. So I thought he went up to see his relatives up in the Davenport, Iowa, and I'll explain that later, but that's where all the Tims ended up when they came to America first. But, okay, next slide. Oh, this is the census. This is where, I don't think you can bring that up that much, but on this census right here, I could not find him. See, now he's got a Joachim, but it's Schroeder without the umlaut and no E. But I searched the censuses high and low, and there's only one close name, Joachim Schroeder, and that was in Sheridan, Iowa. And Sheridan, Iowa had a post office box of Davenport. Davenport was where Hans Tim, Henry Tim, and Meriden Tim, their sister, all ended up, and they lived there for a while. Hans Tim was the first to leave. He left in '66 to Dixon, and then Joachim, of course, he ended up over in Dixon area a year or two later, and he ended up buying land right next to Hans Tim, which is the Buckley Ranch right now. It's called Buckley. It's at the end of Hackman and Buckley Road. So that is where his first residence was. And the year that he put in his first crop, with the help of Hans Tim, loaned him his mules and everything, but that was the year he got flooded out, and he got tired of, he lost all his money. So what he did, he looked at, in Germany, when you had darker soil, it was always the rich soil. Little did he realize that darker soil here, and it was clay, so it was heavier soil, so it was didn't grow good crops anyway. Okay. Now, this is Anna Paul Tim Schroeder, born, and it says 04 there, but on her marriage certificate, she was 32 in the year of 1841, so that doesn't pan out at all. But it's got her death, which is correct, in 97 in Dixon. And she died of cancer at Hans Paul's house out there on Buckley Road. But she spent a lot of her time going back and forth from Joachim to Hans. She lived half and half with each one. Okay, her sons were, the firstborn was Peter. Oh no, that spouse is Peter, I'm sorry. The firstborn was Henry, who was the first one to come to Dixon, born in 28. Then you had Hans in 31, and then you have another, flip it.
You have the next sheet?
Huh?
The next one?
Yeah, next one. Oh, here, you had where'd it go? Oh, Meriden, right here, okay? And then you had Peter was the last born. And he was the one, he was a carpenter is what his trade was in Davenport. Meriden, she married a Royer of no relations in Davenport. They spent their lives in Davenport, whereas Hans came first and then Peter followed later. And I'm not going to go through all the relatives. Like here you got Charles Tim, and he had children, Malcolm Tim, Muriel Tim, Robert Tim, and Marion Tim. So I'm not going to go through all that because of time. Okay, her second husband was Joachim Christian Schroeder. No, that's not, yeah. Yeah, Joachim Christian Schroeder was her second husband, and they had two children. They had Joachim, born May 30th, 1844, and then he married Gretchen Maggie Royer. She went by the nickname Maggie, and these are their kids. I might as well do this now, but okay. The first child, they got married in, let me think. They got married September 5th, 1871. And Uncle Charlie, as we call him, Uncle Charlie was born March 13th, 72. Well, I'm not good on my math, but maybe you are. Yeah, he was born early, very early. So anyway, he was 6 months, she was so-called pregnant with him for 6 months when he was born, let's just say. So Charlie was the firstborn, and then you had Uncle Will, then you had Henry, then you had Herman, and then you had, well, I'll explain. Okay, they're all born 2 years apart. You got Charlie, 72, Will, 74, Henry, 76, Herman, 78, Albert, 70, or 80, Albert, 80, Annie was 82, Rose was 84, and my grandfather, Ed Schroeder, was 87. Okay. And see, here's this right here real quick. It's got Roy Raby Schroeder, married, or we call him Maudine, Ethel Maudine Parker, and they had 3 boys, Terry, Sidney, and Kurt. And then you got Della here, Eggert, they're here now. Della married Otto Eggert, and they had 3, Emma Rose, and Bill here, Bill Jones Jr. Okay, flip it. Oh, that's right, this one didn't take. So that's where it ended. I didn't have that paper and I couldn't put it in. But this is a picture of Joachim, the one that I believe I have in the back. It's the same picture. We used to have Gretchen's also, but my father, in later years, thought it would be nice that we always hung them upstairs. And he always thought it'd be nice if it would go to one of the daughters or granddaughters of Gretchen. So he gave it to one of them, and I can't remember which one, but I'd sure like to have it back. But anyway, it's long gone, so. But anyway, there's a similar picture like the one I have in the back of Gretchen also, but we have many pictures of it, so we still have memories. Okay. And this is Joachim Schroeder. Oh no, I got Hans. This was Hans Tim. I think I might have made a mistake on this. It's either Hans Tim or Joachim Schroeder. I have mixed deals, but I think it partly is Hans Tim. But anyway, this is when he first came to the United States, so I don't really have any early ones of Joachim Schroeder. Oh, by the way, they're half brothers. Of course, you know, Yoakum is half brothers to Hans, Henry, Meriden, and Peter. Okay, this is Hans, and we're into the Royers. Okay, this is Hans Royer and his wife Catherine Krols. I don't know how you pronounce it, but they're the ones that had the Royer boys come over from Germany. I'll explain later. I don't think this is the sequence I wanted it, because I was keeping, oh, that maybe it is, but I thought I had this one over on the other half of my pictures, but anyway, I'll explain how this went. Hans Royer paid for Gretchen to come over, and then when she was over here, you know, she had to pay him back, so she worked it off at his ranch. The Hans Royer Ranch, it's 320 acres as you leave Dixon, just before you get to Pedrick Road. Just before you get to Pedrick Road, it's the quarter section that starts there by the Dixon Community Church, and then it goes a half mile to the south, and that is a 320. Well, that's what he farmed back then, and he gave that, actually he gave that to one of his children, but I'll explain that later. But anyway, he paid for her way coming over, and then she paid off, she worked her way to pay it off, and then in the 1970 or the 1870 census, it shows Maggie, I think maybe that's on another one, but it shows Maggie Royer, but it's R-O-H-E-R, and the name, it was Gret, it was called G-R-E-T-E-R-O-H-E-R, and I had the hardest time, I stumbled on it, because I was looking up Peter Tim in the U.S. censuses, and right above Peter Tim, in the house just before Peter Tim's, it had her name working at the Dudley Ranch in 1871, or 1870, okay. Oh, this is Hans Tim's tank house, which is on the Buckley Ranch right now, and as you can see, I don't know if they only had water tank down here, because if you look on the next picture, go ahead. It shows people up there like it was quarters where you lived. That's what I can't see, and I don't think they had a tank, but yet they got the windmill up there. They had to have a tank up there. So I don't know, and you know, can't see inside to see which, a lot of old tank houses like that, they had tanks in both of them, like my grandfather's. He had a big, oh God, I don't know how big, but he had a tank that filled up the whole second floor, and then he had a smaller, like 5,000 one up on the top floor. So a lot of tank houses had two tanks. The middle one, or the one on the second floor, was for the animals, and the one on the top was for the residents of the house. Okay, we don't have a name on this, and I don't have my, see, we were gonna name them all. I think this one is Hans Tim again, maybe. I'm not certain. So, but anyway, it is one of the Tim family members. It's either Hans or maybe Henry. And this one is the one that's married to Henry Tim, who stayed in Davenport, Yoakum's half-brother. He stayed in Davenport, and he was a musician, which I didn't mention. He was always a musician in Davenport, and this is his wife. And this one, I believe, it's Hans and his wife, Catherine. I believe that's them. Oh, and this is the sister I was telling you about. I have the picture of her, and I wrote that there. It was Meridine Tim Royer, and she stayed in Davenport also. So this is Yoakum's half sister also, or is her half sister? His half sister. And this is generation removed, but this is Peter Tim, the last of the Tims, half brothers, half of the half brothers. This is H.R. Tim, Henry R. Tim. Well, we had two Henry Tims in Dixon this generation, which is actually Peter Tim, the veterinary, well, Olin Tim's father and Peter Tim's grandfather, who had the Tim Dairy out along the railroad tracks out north east of town. Anyway, that is H.R. Tim. But there were two Tims. There was another H.W. Tim, and he was a butcher. They didn't have middle initials, and they were keep getting the wrong mail, so they had to take a middle name, so they took W and R. So I don't think the initials mean anything, but they needed it to keep the mail straight. Oh, here's Henry Tim the butcher. Okay, I knew he'd be coming up. Okay, that's Henry. He lived in Dixon all his life, and I got records of him, but I don't want to get too involved in the other side of the family, because I believe in April we're supposed to have my cousin, third cousin once removed. He's supposed to give a presentation on the Tim family, and that's Peter Tim the veterinarian. I don't know if any of you know him or not. Okay, so that'll be a good feisty presentation. Okay. Oh, here's Charles Tim. Okay, this was, I told you, it had Malcolm and the Tims, and their ranch was right out at the dead end, right out on Pitt School, and it ends on H Street to the north. He had all that land right there. It was all in orchards, and Charles, he got killed in a car accident in '33, and then the young children, basically, Malcolm, he was out of school, but they were young and they had to provide for themselves, and he had a sister that also helped out and took, I think, Marion for a few years. But anyway, they had a rough life after their father got killed. Okay. Okay. This one, I believe, there's two Cecilia Tims. Oh, yeah, this one is the one that married Peter Tim. Yes, this is the one that married Peter Tim. Okay, this is the Peter Tim, the half brother of Yoakum's, my great grandfather, and her middle name was Buke, and it so happens she was a sister of Harry Peterson's. This one and Harry Peterson's wife, not the Harry Peterson of recent, but the older Harry Peterson, they were sisters, and they farmed out in between Dixon and Rio Vista, out there on Robinson Road in that area. Okay. And this is the Cecilia Tim, and this is the one that was married to the musician in Davenport, Iowa. So this would be his wife. And they all had family back there in Davenport. Okay, this is the Schroeder Ranch, and this, I had it restored. I have an original one. I found this by accident after my mother and father passed away, and right over here, okay, the house, it cost $3,000 to build the house in 1873, and at one time, the porch, the kitchen, and all this right here, it had two porches, one on the north side and one on the south side. and they had a single pitch roof on the north and south side. And the house was built in 1873, the tank house was built in 1889, and the blacksmith shop right here was built in 1872 or 3. And the red barn was in 1886, there's that red barn there. And then this right here was a chicken coop right there. And this is where they lived. Originally, before they built the big house, this was kind of, it wasn't really a house, but they lived there for 2 years, and Charlie was the only child. He was real small, but you can see a windmill there also, a small windmill. And of course, then you got the bigger one here. When this picture was taken in 1890, and I'm guessing on the year of the picture because my grandfather in the next slide, I guess, or maybe not. Yep, oh, okay, good, in order, some of them. Okay, this right here, and it's hard to see even for me up here, but this is Herman Schroeder, Edward Schroeder, Joachim, Rose Schroeder, Gretchen right here, Anna right here, or Annie right here, and Anna, Joachim's mother, right here. And up on top, you have Charlie and 2 Schroeder girls that live down the road about a mile south. It's on the, I believe they're on the Manuel Lascano Ranch is where the house was. But 2 Schroeder girls, I think it's Greta and Helen. I think I found the name someplace. And then Uncle Will right here. Okay, and there's a lot of orange trees, and you know, they always like to have trees around the house. They like their fruit, and as you can see, the vines and everything. And actually, we had the banister up till a couple of years ago, and it's getting kind of rickety, so I took it off. I got it in the barn. I was going to restore it. You know how that goes. Oh, here's the house after a snowstorm, and the year I'm not quite certain, but it's either I'd say the late 30s, maybe early 40s, is because the next picture shows Uncle Charlie, I believe. Go ahead. Yeah, here's Uncle Charlie, his wife, Edith Godley, was her maiden, Godley, and she was a widower with 2 children. And right here is Oma, Gretchen Schroeder. And this is the house, and this is a barley field right here. And they had this picket fence all the way around it. You can see the tank house here. And this chimney here was the one that heated the house, and that one over on the north side was a fake chimney. It never did nothing but go down to the attic of the above the second floor. That's where it quit. And this is Uncle Will, Uncle Charlie, Herman, and Albert. And the dog, I don't know the name of the dog, but this is sitting out in front of the house on the east side, as that one picture with all the kids and the mother and the grandmother sitting there. So it's the same deal, and the same old door, screen door has never been changed, same wood in it. Oh, and I wanted to duplicate what we've done. So in 2013, we had a family portraits, and this is the old wheels off the John Deere Model 36 harvester, and these are the back wheels, and this is a tender wheel right there that holds the grain header. So I kept all that, and this is my son Brian, Corey, me, and Todd, and then Brian's son Wade, Matthew, and the redhead is Harrison. And these are the wives. This is Bella, Carolyn, my wife Kathy, Emily, Beth, and Kate. And Kate and Carolyn that's Kate is Carolyn's daughter.
Beth.
And huh?
Beth.
Beth, what did I say?
Carolyn.
Oh, Beth, yeah. Oh, I'm losing it. Okay, Kate is Beth's daughter, and Bella is Carolyn's daughter. Thank you for the correction. Okay. And this is a portrait. This picture is all of us, and I won't go through the names again, but I put Harrison, who was just a year old, I put him in his great-great-grandfather's rocker. I got him from upstairs, and Bella she's in an old chair it's not a rocker, but it's just an old chair, and it's 1,800 chairs, and yeah. But that's the way the front porch looks now. Okay, this is a harvester. I have the receipt for the harvester. It's an 1899 Holt harvester made in Stockton, California. And each person on it, there were 6 boys that great-grandpa Yoakum had 6 sons, and I've been through them, and 2 daughters. And the 6 sons worked on the farm, and they stayed there for most of their life. Okay, this right here is a sack sewer, Charlie. Albert was a jigger. The jigger is one that jigs the sacks, so the grain falls down. So the sower, you can sow it. You got to settle the grain when you put it in the sack. And Uncle Will, he was the driver, the tender tended the horse, the mules. And then Herman, he was the tender of the wheel. In other words, see, there's a wheel here, and as you turn that, it raises and lowers the grain platform, so you can cut lower or higher. And then Uncle Henry was the overseer of the machine to make sure everything was running okay. And I tried to put a date. This picture is partly taken up on Sparks Ranch Road and Severs Road. We had property up there, and I believe this is part of the property up there, because it's got the oak trees in the background, and I was told that they had oaks up there. And I put a date on the picture, and I'm pretty sure it's the proper date. It's hard for you to see, but there's a little American flag on the end of the header here, 16-foot header. There's a little American flag there. And if you look, the trees, see, you got the oak trees here, and right here you'll see a folded up flag right there. And I put the date on this as the 150th year of the of us becoming a United States. So it would have been July 4th, 1926 is the year that this picture was taken. And it's got 26 mules. 26 mules. They're 6 across, 4 rows of 6 across, and then 2 up front. So it's 26 mules for the harvester. And this is the same harvester. They don't have engines on it, by the way. They're ground powered. And what they got cleats on the wheels, the wheels that hold the harvester up, and it's all ground powered, so you stop moving and the harvester stops thrashing. So anyway, as you can see, the engine's usually right here, and there's no engine. This picture was probably taken, late 40s, I'm sorry, middle to late 30s, I'd say, and I believe that's Uncle Ken Schroeder up there, and it might be my dad, either one of these here, but anyway, I'm pretty sure that's Ken Tendon Header. And it's an old best harvester, and they all had smoke arresters on them so you wouldn't catch the fields on fire. And this is my dad getting ready to plow, and I put Uncle Will because that might be Uncle Herman. I can't figure out which one, but I know that's my father sitting on the Caterpillar and with a 2 plowshare getting ready to go out plowing. And this is the Blacksmith Shop. And you can see right here, it's the old grinding wheel, and then there's an A-frame here, and I don't know what that, but there's some sort of A-frame, and I don't know what that is, but you can see the chickens, and the house is right over here, and they had a big olive tree right in here, so that's partly the olive tree, one of these trees right there. But that's the old 1872 blacksmith shop. But you can see the grinding wheel. Oh, I didn't mention, but Dixon Schroeder, when he first came here, he worked for John Mays of Mays Road in town, M-A-Y-E-S. Mays had over 2,000 acres. His land went from A Street to A Street to H Street, from Washington Street here in town to Schroeder Road out across the freeway. So I think it was over, and also it included the Azevedo. So it took land to the south of A Street, one quarter section to the south, all the way out. So he had, I figure, over 2,000 acres. Anyway, Yoakum was working for him one year, and you can see there's a post that's right up here. These hay wagons had posts, a 4x4 or something like that, posts to keep the hay from falling off the front and the back. Well, somehow Yoakum was up on top, and he slid off, and he broke his foot. And anyway, they took him to town, and the broken foot was improperly set by a druggist. Well, there was only one druggist in town, and that was Abraham Kirby. So Abraham Kirby is not a good fixer of broken bones. Yeah, and as you know, this picture is taken as you're coming up the driveway. These are the black walnut trees, and they had this pine, what do you call, not pine, juniper, what do you call those? Pine trees, huh? Cypress. The cypress tree, they had that as you walk into the house up in front. Okay. And this shows the house when it had the double pitch. And if you go up the attic right now, you can see they straightened it out, and they had screens here in the front and on the sides. And these kitchen windows here, what we've done with the kitchen windows, we've taken the two out on the side and filled it in and put one right here in the middle. Otherwise, it's all the same. And these trees here are cypress trees. They were really rough wood. Cypress, it's hard. You can't cut it with a saw or nothing.
That's a locust.
Oh, locust, I'm sorry. Locust, I'm sorry. It was locust. Thank you. Thank you. Locust, they were locust trees. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm gonna have to run through this pretty quick.
okay.
Okay, next. Okay, this is Ed, my grandpa, Ed Schroeder, taken away as a child. And this is the three of them, Edward, Annie, and Rose, who married Otto Eggert when they were children. And this is the only class picture that we have of Dixon High School of all four classes in 1902 was the first year. This is a teacher here, and a teacher here, and a teacher there, and that's my grandfather right there. Okay. And that's a whole school, and there was 19 boys and 11 girls in the class. And this is my grandpa when he got married. He lived at 1224 V Street, Sacramento, and that's where he raised his family until 1924. And this is Grandma Mildred Hankey, my grandmother, Mildred Hankey Schroeder. And this is my Kenny, and my Uncle Kenny and my dad, Elmer, up in Sacramento. And this is them again, and again. And this is the registration for the draft, World War I, and it shows that Grandpa worked at Ann Arbor bakery as a salesman during the war. Okay. And this is, I think it's partly, this is Sacramento Zoo. You can see their grandma's sitting on an alligator with the mouth tied shut. And this is the house, 1224 B Street, and that's my dad right there. And this is them again. And that's Grandpa later in years. And this is the Schroeders. Oma's, Gretchen's birthday in May of 34. This was taken. My Ed, Herman, Rose, Albert, Will, Henry, and Charlie, and then great-grandma. And this is great-grandma here with flowers taken on the north side of the house on her same day. And go ahead. And this is her with family members. And this is Nanny Schroeder, Lois Schroeder, with the 3 Wolf girls, which was the Della Jones's daughters. And this is just more pictures of the same, as a repeat. Go ahead. And this is Grandma. I think she might have been in the hospital then, but this is her out front. She really loved her gardening. And this is her again. And this is taken right at where the Catholic Church hall is. That was my great-great-grandfather's house there. And that's Oma right here, Grandma Schroeder right there. And that's my grandmother Mildred's, right here's my grandmother Mildred. And that's her mother, Anna Eliza Evans Eames Ford. And this was a birthday, her 80th birthday party, Anna Eliza Evans Eames Ford. And this here is Bobo Reddick, Bobo Hanky Reddick of Reddick Road fame. And I don't want to go through, I don't know many of the others. And this is her again, Anna Eliza Evans Eames Ford with my father. And this is the way the house looked right there on 2nd Street and Mays. And that's my mother, and I had to get myself in back in 1943, probably, yeah. That's me and my mother on the south side. And this is Grandpa's my grandmother and Grandpa's 50th wedding anniversary with all his grandkids. And I'm not going through names, but that's me over there. And my sister Eloise. And my sister Sharon isn't in this because it was taken in '63, and she was on her honeymoon with George Vogel. Okay. This is my father before graduation. He was probably like a junior there. And I think this is more like a senior year. And this, now we're getting into the Royers. Okay. It's a long story, but Stephen Schroeder had 2 children, and they were called Gretchen and Lise, and she never came to America. But then Stephen died, and Anna Royer married Jacob Royer, and then you had all the Royers of Dixon. You had Otto and Hanson, Eggert, and all them. This is their site right here. So you had Jurgen come, that's the baseball players, Jurgen Jacob Royer, and then you had Hans Heinrich come, and he didn't stay here. He got in a fight, I think. Anyway, he had a disagreement with Jurgen or Jacob or what, but anyway, he moved out, and he went up to Spangle, Washington, and raised his family up there. And then Kristen Royer, who always went out to my grandmother's, Gretchen's, and they were very close. Close all their life. Okay. And this is Gretchen, the picture that my dad gave away, but I got the big blow-ups anyway. And this is the German family. This is the Jacob. These are the Royer boys back here. And I don't think that Gretchen is in this picture. This is the second marriage. So that would have been Jurgen. And this is Anna. And that's her second husband, Jurgen. And this is their family. They had 8 kids after my grandmother, or my great-grandmother and her sister Lise. And this is Jacob and Anna again, over there in Germany. And this is my grandma, this is Gretchen and Lise, and this is another picture of Gretchen later in life. Same right there and there. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. 5 minutes, okay. Okay, 5 minutes, okay. Okay, well anyway, she came over, this is her past, this is when she came over from Germany. She, they had her name, oh, this is not it. Oh, this is, okay. Anyway, this is, this is her, when she came over from Germany. She was on Hamburg, she left Hamburg, came to the United States, and rather than going through the Isthmus of Panama and going to San Francisco like Joachim did, she went directly, she had her 3 brothers, 2 brothers and sister, no wait. She had her 3 brothers, I'm sorry, she had 3 brothers, Jacob, Hans, and Christian. They were all with her on that trip. And Peter Peters brought him over from Germany, and Peter Peters owned all the land out there where the city hall is right now. He had 160 acres right there. 160 where the city hall is. Anyway, go ahead. Okay, this is Jacob. You got a smaller. Okay, this is Chris, Henry, and Jacob Royer. That's the Royer boys, and of course, Jake is the one that had the baseball family. And this is Jake and Henry, or Heinrich again, right there. This is a German house right here, where they lived. This is her house, and this is Anna right here, and I have names of Gretchen, I'm sorry. Klaus Royer, wife Gretchen, with son Sievert, I think, Sievert, yeah. Okay, that's the old house that's still there today in Germany, because Sid and Diane Schroeder went over there and saw it. And this is Chris Royer. Chris was only 2 years old. Wait, is he 2? Yeah, he was born in 67, and they came over in 69, so he was only 2 years old when he came across by ship, steamship. And then they came by train from New York to Dixon. And that's Chris again. And this is a windmill. Chris went over to Germany, and later in life, and he took pictures, and this is a windmill over there. And this is snow, and it's partly one of these might be the Royer house, I don't know, but there's nothing on it. Although somebody put an X there, like maybe that might have been it, I don't know. And that's Jacob and Lena Stick Royer. That's the baseball mother and father, the Royer boys. Yeah.
I'm thinking that people are probably getting kind of tired of sitting. Maybe we should take a bathroom break.
Oh, well, wait, I can call it. Okay, this is
Okay.
bathroom break?
We could do a bathroom break and maybe refreshments, and then those.
Well, I promised people they'd be home for the game.
Yeah.
I'm just about done. Okay. This is Spangle, Washington. The Hans Royer's house up there, or Henry Royer's house up there in this boggy 8 days. Okay, go ahead. And this is Henry Royer with his half sister Gretchen Schroeder. Okay. And this is, Sid and Diane's, I'm just about there. This is Sid and Diane's European trip in 2016, over there to Schleswig, Holstein, the town of Jevensted. And there, oh God, that's Sid. Okay. Go ahead. And there's Sid again, he's always got to be in the picture. Okay, and this shows the passage of the Royers coming. You see here, Hans, wait, no, that's the wrong one. Here it is, here. Gretchen, Jurgen, Hans, and Christian. So everything gives their year of birth right there. And what they were, farmer, and then married Joachim. You can see that. Okay. And this is the family tree with her. She's up in here someplace, but it's the way the Germans do the family tree, the Royer family tree. Okay. And this was all over there in Germany. Sid and Diane brought back with them, along with their daughter Kim and her husband Kelly Evans. Okay. Go ahead.
Good job.
That's the last slide. That was it? That's what I said. That's about it. Yeah. Okay, thank you, everybody. Go get your refreshment.
That was great, Bill, thanks. That was so great.